Hello, welcome back. In this video, we'll discuss the bipolar junction transistor, or for short BJT. The first transistor was invented by John Burdeen, Walter and William Shockley, who have developed the first transistor. It's a semiconductor device that has revolutionized the electronics in the early 19th century. There are two different types of transistors. One is an NPN transistor, the other one is a PNP transistor. In a circuit, an NPN transistor is represented using the symbol in which there will be a circle. In the circle, there will be a vertical line. The vertical line represents the base of the transistor, and there will be an arrow pointing outward or inward. The line that has the arrow is called the emitter, and one more line without the arrow is called the collector. For the NPN transistor, the arrow will be emerging out of the circle, and for a PNP transistor, the arrow will be entering into the circle. A transistor will have two PN junctions containing three different regions. We have N and P regions separating one junction here. This is a junction, and P and N, this is another junction. There are two PN junctions with three different regions of semiconducting materials. In the case of NPN transistor, on this side we have the emitter, that is small in size. This middle one is the base. The largest region in the transistor is the collector. And in the case of PNP transistor, we see emitter on this side with a p-type semiconductor, and the base will be an n-type semiconductor. Of the three regions, it is the largest one. We have the collector. So the thinnest region in these three is the base. A transistor is a semiconductor device consisting of three regions. So the first one is called the emitter, the second one is the base, third one is the collector. There are NPN and PNP transistors. The transistors are called as bipolar devices. They are called bipolar devices because the electrical conduction takes place using both electrons and holes. Both the electrons and holes are involved in the current flow through the NPN and PNP transistors. That is the reason why they are called as bipolar devices. In the transistor symbol, the direction of the arrow is the direction of flow of conventional current. Please recollect that conventional current direction is opposite to the direction of flow of the charge carriers. In NPN transistors, the arrow points from the base to emitter. In this device, electrons flow from the emitter into the base, and hence the direction of the conventional current flow is from base to emitter. In NPN transistor, the arrow points from base to emitter. In this device, electron flow is from the emitter into the emitter into the base, and hence the direction of conventional current flow is from base to emitter. In PNP transistors, the arrow points from emitter to base. In this device, electrons flow from base into the emitter, and hence the direction of conventional current flow is from emitter to base. In the case of an NPN transistor, the arrow points from base to emitter, and in NPN transistor, electrons flow from the emitter into the base, and hence the direction of the conventional current flow is from base to emitter. And in the case of PNP transistor, the arrow points from emitter to base. In this device, electrons flow from the base into the emitter, and hence the direction of conventional current flow is from emitter to the base. In transistors, emitter is heavily doped, And what is its job? Its job is inject the electrons into the base. What emitter does is it injects electrons into the base. The bases are lightly doped and very thin. Base in a PNP transistor or an NPN transistor, it will be very thin and it will be lightly doped. And what is its purpose? Its purpose is it passes most of the electrons onto the, and we'll discuss about the collector. Collector is intermediate between the heavy doping of emitter and the light doping of base. Collector is the largest of the three regions. What are the three regions? Emitter region, base region, and collector region. Of these three regions, collector is the largest one. And which one is the smallest one? It is the base. A collector is named as collector because it will collect the electrons and it must dissipate heat Collector collects the electrons and it dissipates the heat that is generated in a transistor. In this video, we have seen the bipolar junction transistor, the BJT. The BJT was invented by John Bardeen, Walter, and William Shockley. These three gentlemen have developed the BJT or the transistor. In a circuit, the transistor is represented using this symbol. There are two types of transistors, NPN transistor and PNP transistor. You have a circle, within that a vertical line and a line with arrow. The line with the arrow represents the emitter, and the one that goes perpendicular to the vertical line is the base, and the other line is the collector. In the NPN transistor, the arrow will be emitting from the circle, and in a PNP transistor, arrow will be pointing towards the base from the emitter. Structurally, a transistor will have three regions: the emitter region, the base region, and the collector region. In a transistor, we have three regions: emitter region, base region, and collector region. They are called as bipolar devices because electrons and holes, they both contribute to the current in the device. The direction of the arrow is the direction of flow of conventional current in a transistor. In NPN transistor, the arrow points from base to emitter. In this device, electrons flow from the emitter into the base, and the conventional current flow is base to emitter. In the case of a PNP transistor, the arrow points from emitter to base. In this device, electrons flow from base into the emitter, and hence the direction of conventional current flow is from emitter to base. Emitter is always heavily doped region in a transistor, and its purpose is to inject electrons into the base. The base in a transistor is a lightly doped region, and it is the thinnest region, passes most of the electrons onto the collector. The collector is intermediate between the heavily doped emitter and the lightly doped base. So its doping is somewhere between that of the emitter and the base. Collector is the largest region in a transistor. The job of the collector is to collect the electrons, and it must also dissipate the heat that is generated in a transistor. Thank you.